Alright folks, hello and welcome back to Downstage Gaming. I'm your host Josh, and this is part 23 of our Let's Play of Head as Code. When we last left off, we had joined up with H this time, and went off to the reactor room. And as soon as we got in, it's kind of a similar setup to the theater thing, where there's no real exit, or at least there's not the usual, like, puzzle escape thing. Instead, basically, according to Smiley, one of us has to sacrifice ourselves by going in here and deactivating this or everything's gonna blow up. And that's where we left off here. We have 10 minutes before that happens. The screen turned off right after that. A small light on the reactor turned on, flashing red. Everything was going to explode in 10 minutes. 10 minutes? That's so short! We can't make that decision in 10 minutes. Let's negotiate. Let's haggle. At least 15. We can't make it in an hour, or 10 hours, or even a lifetime. What are you playing at, Smiley? What is the purpose of this? I shook the screen, but no answer came. Instead, H rose up and spoke. She was a lot more stable now, but there was an undeniable coldness in her tone. Yeah, a lot of things have been going on with H, too. Smiley made reference to what I believe is H's past, where apparently people have, like, experimented on her because she did something bad. And we've both been getting strange headaches. I don't know. I will go. No, you can't do it. You're still a young girl. What was I saying? Was I really going to throw myself into a fire for a stranger? Sure, she was young. She had more time, but I just finished university, damn it. I got a life to lead. I had friends. I had a family. They all wanted to see me again. I think they might all be dead, my man. I could be hailed as a hero for it, but what would it matter if I was fucking dead? No. This is my burden. This is why I was created. Created? What are you talking about? Either her family was full of loons or something else is going on here. They didn't do a great job with the birds and the bees talk. She was calm, perhaps even eerily calm. Who the hell was this girl? I was a girl who did terrible things. That is me. Or rather, that was Hannah. Yay, we learned her name. I have her memories. While we were in the train, on the way here, I remembered my own. Or maybe it's better said as I was transmitted my own. Say, what do you think of androids? Where's that coming from? What are you talking about again? Androids? What? Okay, so I was pretty much right about some of this. I'm not a real person. I could never be a person. I'm an android. I'm a created entity. I'm not real. I was built here, and without these memories, I'm Hannah. An android is unable to act on its own. It needs programming. It's a fabrication, a fake person, or someone who doesn't belong, in other words. As an android, I don't have the same kind of physical limits as you, but I have others. Namely, I have to obey the laws of robotics. Do you know them? Yeah, I played Virtue's Last Reward. That's the place where that comes from, right? There are 3. She grabbed a nearby tool and bent it rather effortlessly. She was so strong it made me arch my eyebrows in shock. I couldn't deny her nature, but something still didn't sit well with me. Like, what the fuck? It doesn't matter. The important part is that if it talks like a person, if it looks like someone, and if it thinks like Hannah, surely that must be Hannah. And so I am Hannah, but I'm not her. G never knew. G's real sister was taken away. She took a small pause, as if hesitating. She's somewhere. Anyway, this is why I must go and do this. I have to sacrifice myself. I'll save all of you. The laws of robotics forbid me from standing by while a human will come to harm. Unfortunately, if I didn't know I was a fabrication, I could have abstained, but now that I do know, there's no turning back. I can't unknow it. There's no place for me here, so I'll make my own. This way, I had a purpose. She smiled, but I could tell it was strained. I could tell she was masking her own insecurities over it. That's not true. There must be some other way. We have some time. Let's search the room, quickly. We can both survive. I was convinced. I needed to search this room, but almost half our time was already up already. You've been G's sister for a long time, right? She cares for you. What if she doesn't find her real sister again? You're still her. And you're scared right now, so let's find another way. I'm not scared. I don't think. I don't feel. It's all a fake process. Feelings are just calculations and reactions made in here. She pointed at her head. Brains are exactly the same thing. If you feel like you care, then you do. Brains are like organic machines doing the exact same thing. It's all just electric currents. You're not wrong. According to what I know, you may be right. It is a contradiction to my programming. This is difficult then. But perhaps it would be better this way. Let's search. Let's do it quickly. Maybe there's a way. Maybe there is. I didn't know if it was wise for me to give her hope, but we had 4 minutes to search. That meant I could only search 4 things in this room at most. Okay, so this is very similar to the way that the theater worked. If I didn't figure something else out, then the choice would be made for me. I wonder if there is an actual solution to this one then. Because the theater, it didn't seem like there was. Alright, well, let's not talk. Let's try to actually do this. I'm looking around trying to see what would be most... Let's take a look at these things. We should just break all this stuff. Wait, let me have a look. What were all those things? Cables, boxes, I could see some pipes. If we broke anything in there, maybe the reactor would stop. However, there was an equal chance we'd make it explode right away. Perhaps it was better to leave it be and come back. We found some sort of telltale sign that breaking this would be beneficial. Not for now, but if we find a reason to do so, maybe. Our time's going down and you want to waste some of it? If we waste some time but end up not vaporizing ourselves in the process, I think that's a lofty goal. Well, fine. We parted from the contraptions. 1 minute down. If I didn't hurry it up, I'd lose all the time I had left, and Hannah would probably incapacitate me. I had to be quick. I am very curious about this door. This door had a big number 9 onto it. Was this supposed to represent the 9th person or something? Would my escape be assured if Hannah sacrificed herself? I slapped my cheeks a little with my palms. No, I had to stop thinking this way. There must have been another way out without sacrificing anyone. Now, 2 minutes had passed. Time was quickly running out. Half the time had gone, so I needed to figure something out. Alright, what about this thing? If this situation wasn't so perilous, I might have considered drawing something on this board. Like a penis. Something like a map of the metro. Or maybe some Greek to look mysterious. Or maybe I could draw, If you're not thinking of drawing something unsightly there, are you? No, I'm going back to the search. Might have drawn a funny, unsightly picture, but with Hannah around, I figured it might be better if I didn't anyway, especially as we were short on time. Moved away from the board. 3 minutes. It was almost over. We're almost out of time. Don't make any mistakes, S, or else... She glanced towards the reactor. Yes, I knew she would jump into it when the time ran out to avoid any issue. That was why I needed to do this quickly. Well, we're almost certainly not going to make it here, but let's look at this thing. The screen wouldn't help me. I couldn't go through it. Instead, I focused on other things around it. In the strange mess of things, I could hardly make out anything worthwhile. At first, some of them seemed like a good prospect. This is so techno. Maybe more sci-fi? Nothing's lighting up. None of this could be helpful. I didn't know my way around a reactor room. The computers didn't turn on, the metal plates didn't help, and all the stuff scattered around was made of random objects. Ah! There has to be something we can use in this pile of stuff! Hannah shrugged and moved away. She came to the same conclusion. This was, ultimately, useless to us. Unfortunately, I didn't manage to find a way out of this predicament. No matter what I looked at, no matter what I tried, it was all in vain. Hannah was glaring at me as the time was running out. There was a bit of resentment in her. Was it all a lie? This hope you gave me? This... hope? Hope? Ah! Oh... That was the word. If you remember last time, G had specifically said don't use the H word. No. No hope! Ah! The word, it's tearing my head apart. I forgot. I shouldn't say it. I shouldn't think it. She held her head in her hands. Apparently that was causing her to have a headache too. This was my chance, but I didn't want to leave her like this. I hesitated. In that slight moment of hesitation, she forced herself to move forward, which in turn forced me to make up my mind. Sorry, Hannah. I can't let your wish come true. You're going to fucking live. It was like the choice had been made for me. I took advantage of the situation and jumped into the reactor. Quickly, she regained her footing, but it was too late. My hand slammed on the button, which closed the door. No! You can't do this to me! To Hannah? To Greta, her sister? So that was her name, huh? I'll remember that for later. Their parents must have had some wicked sense of humor to base their names off that popular duo of characters from children's tales. I mean, I don't know if I've ever heard of Hannah and Greta, but I guess Hansel, since it's a girl, alright, whatever. However, I had nothing to say. I knew I tricked her somehow, and seeing her lamentable state due to that headache, perhaps born out of traumatism I had no idea of, it made me feel bad. Despite that, I stood by my choice. Of course, all the thoughts in the world came upon me at that moment. I thought about Marco, I thought about Jasmine, I thought about my family, too, and all the others I wouldn't see again. Don't do this to me! Don't leave me alone here! I'm not Hannah! I'm a robot, I'm a fake, I'm not real, I'm not... Finally, after clearing my throat and clearing my head, I could speak to her to tell her just how exactly things were. No! You're Hannah. As far as Greta's concerned, you are Hannah. As far as I'm concerned, you're Hannah. No one else can take that away from you. I'm going to die, and it's scary, of course. I can feel the heat building up behind me. So don't look. Don't look. I didn't exist. I wasn't here. There was no Simon. I told her my name, too. I felt like it was only appropriate, given the circumstances. We're trying to make her forget about us. Doesn't seem like a great idea, but there was no Simon anywhere. No Simon ever existed. So don't feel bad. You're going to be Hannah, and you'll live. You'll live for Greta. Hannah refused to listen. She hammered her body into the door until it had begun growing hotter. I was melting. I clenched my teeth to ignore the pain. I clenched my teeth to ignore the incoming death. It was difficult. To face your own death was something no one was truly ready to do. And yet this was my future now. Or rather, my lack of future. All this work, all this life to amount to this. But at least it was for someone else's greater good. A second thought prevented me from feeling good over it, though. Maybe it was the selfish part in me. Maybe it was the cowardly part in me. Even if I die, I'll get you back out of here. Hannah! I screamed so loudly, even she was surprised, and she stood back dumbfounded. You are not giving your life away. Do you hear me? Avert your eyes. I didn't exist, so go live. She did as I told, fighting against her programming. She averted her eyes. She wouldn't see me as I became nothing. This was it. The pain was unbearable. Sorry, Marco. Sorry, Jasmine. I was giving my farewells to people who would never hear them. The last moments were nothing but a melting pot of weird nothing. Colors, sounds, sights. All of them were mixing in a head that wasn't quite there anymore. And yet, even as I faded, I maintained one thing. I maintained my smile. Now that it had come to this, now that I truly had passed the point of no return in the end, I felt good deep inside. I didn't have any remorse, any fear, any cowardly thoughts. Complete darkness waited for me, and I embraced it. Soon, none of it would be my burden anymore. With that smile, I vanished in a torrent of heat and despair. Okay, well there's our other blue lock. Isn't that on the path we're on now? It very well might be. Alright, so there's Meltdown Bad End. And it's reached within the circle, choose embodiment. Alright. Let's go on our ride. Whee! Alright. So I am still curious if this is one of those, if this is a situation where... Because there's another thing here. So is this a situation where they just had to have us go through this first? Or is there an actual solution to this one? Let's head back in and find out. Alright. So, we're up. Smiley gives us the deal. Okay. Alright, so there were only, I think, 3 things we didn't look at last time. Which is the 2 things on the reactor here. And then this back here. And then they were saying there might be some use for this. Let's start over here. This wall had something behind it. Maybe if I tried really hard, it could open. I spent a bit of time looking around. Can't we use Hannah to do that, since she's apparently super strong android girl? Spent a bit of time looking around to see if there was any mechanism, but there was none that I could find, which meant this was do or die. If it would be done by a hand, then so be it. 1 minute down. If I didn't hurry it up, I'd lose all the time I had. Yep, we got that. Okay, well, so we can. I mean, I guess let's try it. I tried time and time again to open this wall, but it wouldn't budge. Even using the tools scattered around this place, I couldn't make it move. Something was behind it, though. I knew that. 8 things, whatever they were inside. Alright, the pods, or at least what I assume are the pods. This could be opened. It was clear as day. The wall had this strange, teeth-like shape. This is way too solid. I can't do this alone. Hannah! Hannah came by momentarily. We had to hurry. Let's open this thing. There's stuff behind it. We need to access it. Okay. I'll do a countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. We combined our effort to lift the teeth up and open the wall. All in vain. The wall refused to move. All we ended up doing was exerting ourselves too much. This was just a waste of time. Fuck! This is so stupid! Language. Girls should... I can swear if I want. Get back to the search, quickly. Now 2 minutes had passed. Alright, well, we may be done, then. This was the open door of the reactor. Took a glance at Hannah. She wasn't looking this way. I could slip in if I tried now. Maybe I could stop her from killing herself this way. I had to think about it, but I didn't have much time left. I was missing something vital to use for this. 3 minutes. Okay. Yep. Alright. Oh, wait. Okay. Alright, well, we'll know this for next time. This is the big, menacing reactor. Inside, I can see a lot of orange swirling through some of the grating on the back of the open door area. This must have been whatever power is being generated. It was going out of control, and soon it would incinerate us. It would incinerate us and everyone else. This wasn't just a gamble for a survivor between us. This was a gamble for everyone's survival, too. If we didn't come to a conclusion, even Jasmine and Marco would. Unfortunately, didn't manage to find a way out of this predicament. Okay. So we're just gonna die again? Yeah, okay. Alright, but we saw that, we saw that there was that extra thing. So I assume that's just from looking at the bottom part of the reactor. So let's give that another try then. But first, let's go on our fun credits ride again. Whee! Okay. Back in we go. Okay. Skip the preamble. Get right into cracking the code. With our square eyes. Okay. So let's look at this first. Now, take a look at this. I glanced over at the mess on the side. Maybe one of these objects would come in handy. I stealthily picked one up, carrying it with me. Now, what would I have used this for? I didn't really have a plan, but this was the beginning of one. Okay, 2 minutes had passed. But then again, there was another way. I aimed the random object I took from the mess nearby directly at the button and threw it. However, as soon as it was inside, the reactor lit up, and the object was instantly incinerated before it hit the mark. Dang it! What are you doing? I tried throwing something inside to hit the button. Go figure, Smiley doesn't want us to bypass the choice we have to make. She looked demoralized, but she vacated this spot. Damn. If I went for it again, I'd have to... 3 minutes. Okay. I'm not sure what this is gonna be then. I only had one option now. I went over to the open door as stealthily as I could. Unfortunately, Hannah noticed what I was doing. Trying to slip into the reactor while I wouldn't see? That won't work. Since I wasn't searching anything else, her attention had gone back to it. Crap, I fucked up. Now she was on the move to cut me off from it. No! You can't do this! I still tried to stop her, but in the end I failed. My arm reached for her, but she dodged it rather easily. Even if her steps were heavy, she could make quick calculations. She knew how much to move, how much to balance her weight. I was just a human. Wait, did she know that? Maybe I could do something with it. Maybe I could lie to her. What if I told her I was a robot? Even if it was a lie, maybe I could catch her off guard. That was my train of thought. Hannah, but I was too late with it. Perhaps if I distracted her longer, I could have found something else. Perhaps I could have done the sacrifice instead. Perhaps, only possibilities built this line of thinking. I can't stay idly by when someone comes to harm. It's part of my programming. Sorry. And with that, she stepped forward, leaving me out of her decision. It was like the choice had been made for me. I contested it. I didn't like the fact it had been decided for me. As if there had never been a choice there. As if the events had been written to take place in this exact way without any doubt. As if I had no free will of my own. All of those thoughts were secondary to the events unfolding before me, though. She had already slammed her hand under the button of the reactor. Hannah! The door closed behind her, shutting her off from me. She remained eerily silent past that. I could tell the girl was breaking down, watching her through the door. I slammed my fist against the window and the thick gate, but nothing I did changed anything. Her own hands lifted up to her head. Realizing the horror of what was to come, she held her own head in despair. Hannah! Hannah! This was it. She dropped her arms down and turned around as the reactor slowly launched the stabilizing process. Even as the heart grew inside, she smiled. Even as the heat grew inside, excuse me, her heart grew 3 sizes that day, it is true. But even as the heat grew inside, she smiled at me. She reminded me of myself. No doubt if I had been inside, I would have done similarly. Likewise, if she had been the one outside, she most likely would have panicked and tried to get me out, too. In that sense, we were not so different. It was in our nature to try to help in any way we could. Her face haunted me the entire time she remained within. As the blast of fire and heat engulfed her more and more, that smile remained, and it imprinted itself upon my mind. I couldn't forget it. I pulled away from the door due to the growing heat. My own behavior was reversely proportional to Hannah's stabilization. The more she abandoned herself to her fate, the harder I fought against it. I still had to try something, even if I understood that I could do nothing but watch. Horrific moments followed up on each other. Her fake hair fell down. Her flesh melted off the metallic components of her body. Even the metal turned into something akin to a bunch of molten parts. She was a robot. The fake person from the note, that was her. Yet despite that, I didn't really think she was a killer or a bad person or anything like that. She was just as much someone as anyone else here. Not anymore, of course. Now she was melted. She was dead. There was a high probability that she wasn't conscious anymore, if such a thing could be called consciousness. What was left of her was engulfed in a tornado of flames. Finally, after what felt like a few eternities, the reactor calmed down. I was contemplating what to do. The quiet room grew on my nerves. I couldn't shed tears, I couldn't scream. All I could do was live. All I could do was live for the remains of Hannah's melted body at the bottom of the little maintenance hatch. Encased into the metal was her collar. It looked fine. The blaring red alarm in front of the reactor had ceased its blinking and turned off. Just as it did, I released a breath I'd been holding for around a minute. Finally, everything caught up to me. Yet despite my inherent and deep sadness, I couldn't bring myself to cry. Instead, I was thinking about the perpetrator, Smiley. That was his fault. All of this was his fault. A rage was building up inside of me. To finally learn about Hannah and then have her die like this? What would I tell Greta when I came out? Would she hate me? I'd be coming back without her sister. The next time I met her, I'd have to bring up the subject. It wasn't my fault. I didn't feel strong enough to do so, even if this was Smiley's fault. Not only was I a coward deep inside, but I also didn't know what to say in this kind of situation. I felt like I wanted to run away more than ever before. I stood back up. When had I fallen to my knees? Must have been during my own growing despair. Everything that transpired had just been a blur. The screen had turned on again. I only realized it at that moment. I must have missed some of what Smiley was talking about. It took me a second to calm down as the rage against him was still strong in my head. Your group. However, know that now someone else has been condemned to die here. This is, of course, no longer your main concern. As he was talking, the plane wall separated between its two halves. The reactor stabilizing was causing it to open. I focused on Smiley, however. I wanted to make sure I burned his image into my head, so I knew. No, so that no matter what, I would remember the person who destroyed our lives. You are yourself free to go. The door with the 9 will let you leave, provided you have what is required, of course. Otherwise, you will undergo termination in only a few minutes. If you have what is needed, you may proceed. Okay, so maybe that's what the deal was with the time that we escaped from the theater and came up outside and then almost immediately got decapitated. Is that we still didn't have the quote-unquote 9th person, even though we had found an exit. But despite your success, mine will have been a horrendous failure. The MTS will get you. I didn't understand what Smiley was saying. The MTS was the shortened version of the Montreal Transportation Society, so why was he bringing that up? Why would they get me? It's just a company set up to run the trains. It was also my other worry. I didn't have what was required to leave. If we needed to bring the 9th person here, Hannah wasn't it. Was I going to be terminated for that? What's fucking going on? That question echoed without an answer. Looking to find some, I finally paid attention to the back of the room. Yeah, look at these pods. Something had opened there. I didn't feel quite ready to have a look at it. Instead, I looked around the room. Alright, well, let's look at everything else first. Smiley. You're going to pay, one way or another. Inside, a molten pile of metal residue was left. Hannah's collar was sticking out of it. Apparently, it wasn't melting. What was that thing made of? This took away Hannah. It almost took all of us away. I prepared myself. I couldn't bear to look at what was behind this for too long. The fact that this wall had opened, was that meant to be some kind of reward? Was it my reward for standing idly by while Hannah melted away? I balled up my fists and clenched my teeth. Hannah. I couldn't go yet. I really wanted to, but I just couldn't go. I looked at what was back there. I approached what seemed to be a set of some type of vats in which were 8 people. Aligned were 8 vats containing 8 people. The bodies of each of them were floating in the greenish liquid. I recognized them, of course. They were us, in order of 1 to 8. We were held by cables, and each of us was wearing a mask like Smiley's. What did this mean? Alright, so my initial thought was that these are the actual people, and we're like clones or copies that are set to go through this over and over again in order to do something. That was my initial thought, but the fact that they're wearing a mask like Smiley's means that this is that H that we encountered back on that other path where we got killed by somebody who looked like H and was wearing a Smiley mask. Which means they can be released from this under certain conditions? G was there. I was there. Marco A, Hannah, Ray E, Jasmine, all of us were there. All of us were Smiley? What was this? What the fuck? What the fuck? What in the hell is this? I couldn't understand what I was seeing before me. I flattened my head against the glass container that had me inside. Sure, I couldn't see our faces, but these were definitely our bodies. Fake people? Clones? Robots? No. Were those the real ones? I touched my body. I was solid. All of me was real. All the vats were real too. Everything was fucked up. I held my head and I screamed. Ah! I screamed loudly. I screamed for a long time. I didn't want to know. Why was this so fucked? I probably went into insanity at this moment. I couldn't see what I was doing, couldn't hear what I was screaming, couldn't pay attention to what I was hitting. I was punching walls, was jumping up and down. I needed to find a fucking way out of here. The number 9 door was open. Quick, get the fuck out! The fuck out! The fuck out! The fuck out! Out! Get out! I ran through the scanner gates. Darkness greeted me momentarily. Okay, but we did... Okay, so we got darken one and still that counts as a light blue or a blue one. That's weird. That somewhat changes my theory though, because we died almost immediately upon going to the scanner. Whereas that one time before, it let us go all the way out, and then we got killed. Alright, Gears of Fate. Let's go on our wild ride again. Whee! We haven't gotten a non-bad ending in quite some time here. I was kind of expecting that one to not be a bad ending. And that's it for light blue here. But we're gonna go on blue now, and we've unlocked whatever blue lock is gonna happen over here. Let's see, what time is it? No, yeah, we'll have to join up with Jasmine, and see what awaits us on the blue path next time. I'm very curious. I definitely have a lot to consider with what we just found at the end of that one. But we will be back next time. Until then, this has been Downstage Gaming. I've been your host, Josh, and I will catch you all next time.